Hello everybody, Cone Dodger here. Welcome back to Assetto Corsa. Today we are doing another bit of a tourist day around the ring. And you can see here we are starting out with the Alfa Romeo GTA, which is a car I knew virtually nothing about before its inclusion in the game here. But since its inclusion, I have done a lot of research about it and have really kind of fallen in love with the car. It's a very interesting car from an interesting era of road racing. And pretty much falls in line with the things that I really appreciate and love about race cars, so we'll take a look at it and definitely a listen, because as we rev it up here on the grid, or in the garage area, I guess parking lot really, you will hear that it has a very interesting soundtrack to it. So if we let it go down into the low RPM, and for it, it's not happy. It is not happy in the least. That is because this is a 1.6 liter inline-4 front engine rear-wheel drive. It makes 170 horsepower, which doesn't sound like a lot, but then put your mind in the 60s when this car was made, and 170 horsepower out of that small displacement. So extremely aggressive cams, very high revving, all the way out to 8,000 RPM, and it makes pretty much all of its power up there in that high RPM. Alfa put a lot of work into making this car very light, and I really appreciate that in a race car. That is definitely something that makes for a cooler race car to me than necessarily something like a Trans Am car, which was all about big displacement, brute power, or even, say, a modern race car where... Alright, sorry about that, there might be a little bit of a weird cut, just had a strange game crash, but as I was probably saying, or getting ready to say, this car really uses its lightweight and high-strung engine to get itself moving. I find that to be a pretty cool combination. And you pair that with this kind of soft but predictable suspension, and then pair that with 60s tire technology with not very sticky rubber, and it makes for an absolutely incredible driving experience. It will make you work really hard to go half the speed as the cars we were driving last time we were at the ring here, to the point where I spent a couple hours here in this car over the last week or so, and I literally had my arms feeling like jello from driving this thing around here. Obviously I was driving a little bit harder than I am right now, trying to get fast lap times and stuff like that. But it's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding amount of work, because it does a lot of really cool things that modern cars would not do. As we go around here, we will see a lot of that. Probably picking up the front tires there, or the inside front tire. Even with only 170 horsepower, you can drive this car with a throttle very well. Let it slide down past that 6,000 range and go down into the 5,000. You can get it to really drive out of a turn. And be real patient with the brakes, because although it has a lot of brakes, all they will do is lock up the tires in turns like this, because tires don't have enough grip to handle it. Gotta watch out for the curves, because you'll have moments like that. Start gaining speed here again. These are the kind of turns that kind of get hairy. You're much better off trying to have a slow entry than to charge into the turn with this thing, because understeer is the devil with this car. You want it to be skating on the edge of oversteer, because it's very controllable oversteer. But the understeer, if you get it to that point, you're pretty much too late. You're probably heading for a wall. love hearing it wind out like that. And it loves to do it. Okay, hard turn right here. Kind of saved it. Pretty much saved it. Yeah, even after doing hours of laps in this car here, it seems like every lap is completely different. It's kind of a real tough line. Get it to turn there. You can see what I was talking about with the understeer. By the time I had it pushing, it was pretty much too late. We were going in that turn too fast. Got one more right-hander here before we head into the flat-out section of the track. Down to third gear. Down to second gear. Our throttle blips amazingly well. It's a clutchless downshipping. And as we head through the fast part of the track here, this is actually not the fastest part of the track for this car. You really have to let it wind out in fourth gear. Right up to the rev limiter so you can get it as close to 7,000 RPM as possible in fifth. You see, we're not even doing 200 kilometers an hour. We've already been doing over 210 here. But with the uphill part of this track, the car just does not have enough grunt to get going. So although this is kind of the most hair-raising part of the track for some cars, not this one. But as we start to get to the back half of the track, this is where this car can be pretty scary. Carousel here on the banking, you pretty much just have to ride it. The car's going to do something different every lap. You never know how it's going to take it. And the side slid out of it. Sometimes it'll ride in there, and it'll just bottom out so hard that it'll fling you out of it. Turns like that are very scary because you're right on the edge of this car's traction. And that's true for pretty much all of these turns. So hopefully I got everything I wanted to talk about out of the way with this car, because I'm going to be pretty busy for a while here. Luckily, the car has such a great soundtrack to it. There's plenty to listen to. There's another bit of that understeer I was talking about. Kind of lifting the front wheel off the ground there. So much fun. That's what you gotta love about older race cars, how much they move around. No downforce helping us. Probably a whole bunch of lift. Tons of suspension movement. Should make you think you can use the curbs, but you gotta watch out because you can roll this thing on the curbs too. I've done that a time or two. This whole section is just so hair-raising. In most cars, but especially this one. Push all the way to the curb there. There's the oversteer. Before we even know it, already to the second bank turn, which pretty much means you've lived to see another day. Handles that bank turn much better. Down the third, down the second, just to let it sit on the limiter as it goes up the hill. probably more time flat out here in this car than any of the other ones you'll see me in. But still a lot of throttle control at play. And an 835 is actually one of my better laps here in this car, so even though I was not giving it all I could possibly give it, a pretty decent lap around the tourist track. Alright, I think that's enough time here in the Alfa GTA. Easily one of the most fun cars that has been added so far. Definitely one of the coolest sounding ones that's been added. Not just at a higher RPM, but listen to the way it'll pop and struggle on the decel, and overall the quality of the sounds on this car are absolutely phenomenal. It's a ton of fun. I'm already tired, but we got two more cars that I want to drive today, so let's get to it. Alright, and now we're going to take a look at a modern Alfa, or a future classic, depending on how you look at the car. This is a car that is very intriguing to me, and is something I've been keeping my eye on for quite a while, as Alfa Romeo has been slowly re-entering the US market. This is a car that I would consider right now to be my future dream car. In 2007, my dream car was a Solstice GXB. Wheel, I'm going to need you to calm down back there. I see you shaking. It's ready to go, I guess. But this car, today, is a car that I see myself in another 10 years. Something I would love to own. It's a little bit higher priced. It's about $25,000 more than a GXP was new. So hopefully my life goes a way that includes me not being financially screwed for the rest of my life. Because I would really love to see myself in one of these. But now it is time to drive it here in Assetto Corsa. I have not done a single lap or a single foot in this car just yet, so we'll be taking our approach to the track a little bit differently than we were just seeing in the previous car. Taking a look around. It's very cramped inside, that is for sure. Loving the sound. If it sounds like this in real life, then I'm already a fan. It's probably my biggest complaint when it comes to the Solstice. It's the lack of exhaust noise from its Turbo 4. This too is a Turbo 4, but a smaller Turbo 4. It's a 1.7 liter inline 4 mid-mounted in the transverse style, not longitudinal style. It is paddle shifter. Do not particularly love the gauge cluster thing there, the digital cluster. It's a little fancy pants for my likings, but this is supposed to be quote-unquote a supercar. Whoa. That is a very strange sound it makes on the shifting. I guess it's the ignition cut for the shifting. This does use DSG. This does, of course, have ABS and, I believe, traction control. Coming out of the other Alfa, this is going to be a pretty steep transition, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to work myself up to speed. But you are getting to see my actual true first impressions of this car. Let me rev out a little bit there. Rev's pretty high. I can't really tell from what the RPMs are on the tank. That I can't get over that noise it makes on the shifting. That is very strange. I have, of course, owned mid-engine cars in the past of the MR2 persuasion, so I certainly have an interest in them, especially of four-cylinder, you know, kind of econo-box mid-engine cars. It's making quite a bit of turbo noise, which I like to hear. Handling seems to be fairly neutral, maybe a little bit of that snap oversteer that you'll commonly find in an engine car like this. Obviously faster than the GTA we were just in, but not obnoxiously so. This car only makes 240 horsepower, which is actually less than the car I have now, but It also has significantly less weight. I believe it comes in at like 2,400 pounds or something of that nature. So it's about 400 pounds lighter than my car. Yeah, I mean, we're only doing maybe 10 miles an hour faster in that section. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Easy car. There's some of that lift-off oversteer. Really gotta watch that with cars like this. Alright, there was a little bit of traction control. Can't get over that noise. This car is the European spec version. It has the hideous spider headlights with 1,000 different lenses on it. I absolutely do not like in the least. Luckily, the US version comes with regular like lenses and projectors, so that's nice. What a rarity that the US market gets the better looking car. That doesn't happen very often. Of course, that's just by my definition, but it certainly looks better in my eyes. Other than the idle, the car doesn't make fantastic sounds. Whoa, 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 we're about to total it, yep. That happened. That happened rather quickly. Alright. Time to back it down just a little bit. Getting into the traction control there, but the grass on the tires. Still hitting it. Alright, let's slow ourselves down just a wee bit. This is a road car. I have not driven many road cars around the track just yet. So I gotta readjust myself to getting used to that. Obviously these tires probably have more grip than the 60s racing tires that the GTA had, but they are indeed street tires, so they have to be treated like so. Pretty quick steering box, but not ridiculously quick. Kind of in the middle. I still can't get over that sound. I like a little bit of that throttle blip on the downshifts. I've never driven a car with DSG in real life. My brother has just recently acquired a vehicle with DSG, so maybe I'll get to experience it soon. He says it does indeed drive somewhat like a manual. You know, it has the feelings of direct connection. My cat is freaking out in the background for who knows what reason, but he will have to wait. There's Alphas to drive. Let's see how this thing does along the fast section of the track. The car does seem very mundane to drive versus the GTA we were just in. Certainly able to put more power into this section of the track than it was able to. As you can see, it's still slower through here, even though we're flat out for so long. We are trending uphill. Let's drop down to 4th because I don't know how this is going to stick through here. It stuck pretty well. Let it come back up to speed. Has a very even power band. It's not peaky at all, which is something that is very impressive. Nice traction control to save my butt right there. It's very nice in modern turbo cars that they are able to keep them from suffering from such extreme turbo lag. Traction control kind of fighting me all the way through there. Up through here to the back side of the track. This is probably where the car will struggle the most. Really could use some downforce through this section. I don't think this car makes a ton of that, if any. I'd say overall this is probably the hardest section for a road car at the ring. Every time I hear it make the sound for the shifting, it reminds me of a sound, but I can't quite place my finger on it just yet. Second gear is a little shorter than I would like, but I think I have to trust that it can pull through those low rev bands. Like right there, for example, it may have felt like I should downshift, but I don't think it would actually help. Yeah. These are the sections where you would love to have a little bit of downforce. Just a short trip through the sand there. Yeah, I would say it's kind of underwhelming to drive. Maybe it would be a little bit more fun without traction control on, but I don't know that you would certainly be going as fast. It doesn't have a ton of outright power, but it certainly knows how to go. Especially when you let it stretch out in sections like this. I mean, there's a lot of cars in this price bracket that would be significantly faster. This car is about $55,000 in our country, just in base model trim, if you will. I am now interested to know if it does come with a regular manual as well. I think that would probably be a little bit more fun. But it's certainly, handling-wise, looks-wise, very close to supercar, just with a more approachable power limit. So I'd say, although it left me a little bit underwhelmed in some aspects, it was still pretty interesting to drive. And 817, that is with some major incidents, so I'm sure it could go sub 8 pretty easily. Okay, it does have 7 or 6 gears. Sounds cool in downshifts. But overall, the sound is kind of underwhelming. So, that can always be fixed, right? Exhaust systems, that's what they're for. Alrighty, that has been the Alfa Romeo 4C. We'll park this thing and grab something else. I think I'm going to go for something that I can't believe I have not driven yet. And many of you are probably going to be in agreement there that you can't believe I haven't driven it yet. Alrighty, so we started the day with a front engine car. In the middle of the day, we had a mid-engine car. At the end of the day, it's time for a rear-engine car. This is the Ruf Yellowbird, a car that I have not driven nearly enough here in Assetto Corsa, and I have a feeling it's going to be a whole lot of fun here around the ring. I have a pretty good feeling that our woes of not having good enough sounds will be a thing in the past with this car. As we get ready to go. Oh yeah. Now this one is going to be quite a transition from the cars I've been in. So I'm really going to have to take it easy with this guy. At least for a little while. No shortage of turbo noise with this one. There is also a little bit more lag in it. This is probably one of the coolest and finest eras of Porsche's history. Although, thanks to EA, this is not technically a Porsche. Of course, this is a Ruf, but that just means that it's an even better example. Holy cow. It's certainly got a lot of lag in it. But once that turbo spools up, it has no problem getting itself up and moving. It's not dangerously fast though. It's not to the point where it's distracting or obnoxious when the turbo does spool up. No, it is not a fan. Not a fan of throttle blip shifting. Keep that in mind. I've not spent, like I mentioned, very much time with this car, but everybody that has said that it's kind of a drift machine, which is a little bit surprising considering it is rear-engined. Typically these kind of cars do not like to be sideways, and when they do, they have a tendency to snap around. No weight on the nose, oh no, oh no. the same spot here. Let's see if we can control our flight a little bit more. Brakes don't do a whole lot when the wheels aren't touching the ground, so we definitely need to get on the brakes a little bit before this turn. So there we go. And get the car to settle, because it does have a little bit of bounciness to it. And we're right back to the power. Actually, we'll probably be hitting 250 or more through here. Oh yeah, definitely more. 270. Let's get on the brakes though. Oh man, it's scary through there. Seemingly wandering all around the track. A little bit of oversteer there, but not too much. It's going to be another super fast part of the track here. Again, I absolutely love this dive down the hill, especially on a car like this. Hard on the brakes. Trying to get it slowed down for this very tight turn. Down the second gear. Very long gears in this car. It could definitely benefit from a 6-speed, since it seems to have a fairly narrow power band. My feet already hurt doing so much. Lots of understeer off the power. Oops, that's to be expected. One car with floppy paddles, and I'm already too spoiled to be driving a manual, I guess. Yeah, I can't get this thing into gear for some reason. There's the oversteer. People did not lie. It is indeed pretty controllable while sideways. It's one way or the other. It's either understeering on entry or oversteering. There's no normal entry, I guess. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Alright, well, that was ugly, messy, and dirty. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of those moments. It'll take me quite some time to get used to driving this thing. If I was a real tourist today, people would be hating me. I'd be causing slowdowns, tow trucks, and all sorts of craziness. So obviously, if this was real life and I was just being a tourist around the track, I would not, in my wildest dreams, push a car like this hard around the track. Especially not knowing anything about its driving characteristics. Now we're probably going to start flying. Let's see if we get more than that 270 that we already hit. I doubt it. Nope, because I had to lift a little there. Oh, whoa. Save of the day right there. That was sketchy. Alright. Catch your breath. That would, yeah, if that happened in real life, I would just stop. Just stop right there on the track and be done for the day. Because there's no way I could focus after that. So I'm really kind of struggling, trying to find the right gear with this car. It is pretty fun. I'll give it that much. Especially out of the turn. Just gotta get used to its entry. Its corner entry is very interesting. Whoa! Not too sure what happened there. I think it actually bottomed out. It felt like the back of the car was actually like riding on the track. They have to give this car 2 laps. We'll see. We'll see how my arms are feeling at the end of this one. Okay, woo. It's in some ways a lot like the GTA, just with an obnoxious amount of power to go with it. Obviously, a little bit more suspension and tire tech as well. There is no normal apexing these turns, from what I can tell. It's just a kind of a controlled slide the whole time, front or rear. It's a very difficult turn. A lot of cars go off right here in real life as they set their tires out into the... Well, and to back up that statement, I will do the same. Yeah, I think this car deserves another lap. Maybe a clean one. Try and tone myself back just a little bit for next lap and drive a little bit more cleanly. Trying to find the limits of the car right now. They're not always very apparent with it. Oh, another scary spot. Man, this is intense. This is probably the most difficult car I've driven around here yet. Even more than the C9, which I thought would be the most difficult. Obviously, I haven't driven any of the open wheel cars around here yet either, so they could be a whole different ballgame. This one takes the cake so far. Well, I would like to say we made it back in one piece, but it's not really the case. Hopefully I've got a better understanding of the limits of the car now. Boy, we burned through some fuel there. Alright, let's not blow through here and crash the car. We did just hit 280, so it is really, really fast. Hey, just taking a little detour. Get us another ticket, guys, because we're gonna need another lap. All right, that was an 804. It's certainly got tons more in it than that. Go. Focus a little bit more on driving, so be a little quieter. Other than my wheel buzzing away. Brake up, lock up there. Oh, the shifter wasn't in gear. I was like, I want to go into gear. Because the shifter wasn't in gear, that's why. Pretty good about the first part of this lap. Ooh. Again, gotta watch where the limits are. Otherwise, we're never gonna keep it between the lines. You know, this car has the power of those race cars we were driving. Just doesn't have the race car downforce or tires under it. So you're gonna treat it much differently. But without that downforce, it gets going in a hurry. Tap the brakes before the hill. Oh. Dang it. Alright, well I think I'm going to have to admit defeat for today, if you can hear me over the steering wheel right now. This is the kind of car that would take me many hours of practice to be doing clean laps around the ring in, so I am going to try and do that. I will try and learn this car around the track, so I can show you a clean lap in the Yellowbird eventually. Today is not that day, though. I do not have enough time on the clock today to accomplish that. I do hope you enjoyed another tourist day around the ring as we take a look at these new cars around this awesomely detailed and depicted track. Alright, I think that's going to do it for today. Thanks, as always, for watching. I will see you next time.